Hello there. I've just been to the gym and had a Mackey's as a post-workout protein thing. That was a bit dumb. Don't feel very well now. Anyway, welcome to this video where I'm going to be talking you through the Ogre Kingdoms legacy army list that's been uploaded, by G-Dub. In general, I think it's pretty good. It's following the tradition of, the recent tradition of making characterful lists or characterful army books that give you a lot of flexibility, but are pretty nicely balanced. Before I start though, this is my guy. I got a load of ogres for AOS and I painted them up as like essentially a theoretical army. So I don't know whether you can see, but it's all done with contrast paints, and it's all done with I can't seem to find one, like maybe a size 3. That's a size 2 brush. I think maybe size 3 is what I painted them with. GW call it something, don't they? They have their sort of version of a size 3. I think it was... which one was it? I think it was... Oh, I've got rid of it. Anyway, it was like a base coat brush or something like that. I was just essentially testing whether you could do an entire army just with contrast paints and a big brush. Don't need painting skill to do an army. And actually, it looks pretty good. The basing on it is a kind of Christmassy German snow compound thing, which is pretty cool if you put it under UV because it's really, really bright. Anyway, that's beside the point. The reason I was showing you that, though, is because there isn't a lance for an Ogre Tyrant. So despite the model having this really rather impressive hunting lance, that's not an option, which I was a bit confused by. Anyway, so your Grand Army composition list, percentages as are usual: 50% characters, 25% must be on core, 50% limit special, 25% limit rare. There are limits on certain units, so Tyrants or Slaughtermaster per 1,000 points. Just for clarity, that's per 1,000 complete points. If you're only playing a 750 point game, you're only allowed one. You're not even allowed a Tyrant or a Slaughtermaster. 1,500 point game, you're only allowed one. You've got to have one unit of Ogre Bulls. The other core choices are, other Ogre units, essentially. Iron Guts are pretty nasty. Your special units are more or less what you'd expect. You know, Man-Eaters, Mournfang Cav. Man-Eaters, I think, used to be rare, didn't they? But anyway. There's a heavy chariot, either an iron blaster or a gnoblar, I can't even say it. Noblar. I was trying to be funny. Fail. Noblar scrap launcher. And then your rare choice are essentially Thundertusk Riders, Stonehorn Riders, Gorges and Giants. Why Gorges are rare, I'm not sure. They're not amazing. But anyway. So you got your Tyrants and your Bruisers. Your Bruisers are the models that become Battle Standard bearers. Bruisers are the only option for Battle Standards. Ogres don't really have musicians. They have bellowers that go "Rrr!" and sort of, keep everybody in line. They're called bellowers. So pretty much any model. There is a model in the kit that's going like that. So Tyrant's pretty good. He's got a good move, good strength, good toughness. Loads of wounds. He's 10 points cheaper than a Chaos Lord, and he's slightly worse than a Chaos Lord, apart from the fact he's faster, less well armored, and doesn't have any. Sorry, I was just reading about impact. It doesn't have any other sort of ward saves or anything. They all ogres. The cool thing about ogres is that all ogres do impact hits. Noblars don't, obviously, but all ogres do impact hits, which means they get some attacks at initiative 10, which is pretty cool. Yeah. The Overlords, i.e. the Tyrant and the Bruiser, their impact hits have AP 1. Now, actually, before I do that, let's just go and have a look at the special rules first, because that gives you the flavour of the army. So, largely insignificant. These are basically Noblars. They don't cause panic tests because Ogres don't care about Noblars running away. Some units have the ability to take a standard, and you can put a lookout Noblar on there. And that gives you a lookout Sir roll if there are 2 or more rank and file models in this unit. That means not a champion. A champion isn't rank and file, so that means I think that's that's how I'm reading that. So if you've got a champion, a character, and a standard bearer, then if you've got a standard bearer, if there are 2 or more rank and file models in the unit, I think now I've said that, I don't think a champion or character that has joined this unit. That's not very well written, is it? That's a bit. It's not clear. I would interpret that as being, if you got a character in the unit, as long as there's 2 models in the original unit, then you can still use lookout. So it's normally 5, which isn't really a problem with champions and command groups and stuff. But in this case, there needs to be 2. So the minimum unit size is like 3 rather than 6 for lookout. So Mournfang charge. Mournfangs, I don't know why Mournfang charges here because not under Mournfangs, because there's only 1 unit of Mournfangs, but whatever. Mournfang impact hits have armor bane 1, AP 1. Numbing chill, that's a lot of the this sort of stuff is has -1 to weapon skill and initiative whilst in base contact, because they're like exude frost. Ogre charge, this is quite cool actually. So the AP of impact hits of ogres relates to the current rank bonus of the unit. So maximum 2, minimum 0 obviously. Stone skeleton, again that applies to these things. Stone horns, essentially you reduce the damage taken from multiple wounds whatever by 1 to a minimum of what it says, to a minimum of 1, but I've not seen anything with multiple wounds 1, so I'm not sure. Again, this ogre book is or PDF, sorry, is kind of written not as well as the others. It's like it hasn't been proofread, because like that's redundant. To a minimum of 1 is redundant, because if you're doing a multiple wound, the multiple wound is always going to be 2 or more, isn't it? So it's always good. So that's, I don't understand that. I mean, I suppose unless there are other effects that reduce damage, but I'm not sure. Anyway, thunderous charge, impact hits caused by this model have an IEP characteristic of 2. I think that applies to a few of the charity type things. Anywho, so we've got the tyrannical overlords. They can take a mount, so you can put your tyrant or bruiser on a big thing. Let's have a look at the mounts now. We might as well cover that off. This is what you'll be thinking about when you're doing. Yeah, so it's only a Stonehorn or a Thunder Tusk, so you can't mount them on Mournfangs. Then you've got Emissaries of the Great Maw, which is, that's more orky than I don't know what ogres sound like. Because like all orcs is cockneys, right? And then ogres is not cockneys. Ogres is from Essex, maybe, I don't know. So you've got a Slaughtermaster. Again, I mean, they're quite expensive, but they are wizards. So you've got a level 4 wizard with that stat line. That's, that is probably worth about 250 points, considering it does impact hits, and it's pretty nasty. You can give it a Butcher's Cauldron, which, why wouldn't you? It gives it, more impact hits. And also, it can give its unit regen as long as it passes a leadership test at the start of during the command sub phase. So basically at the start of your turn you can take a leadership check, and then this unit and any unit it joins, like a unit of ogre bulls for instance, gets regen 5. which is amazing. And it's until your next start of turn sub-phase, and your opponent can't do anything about it. Fantastic. It's leadership 8, but like, you know, that's more likely than not, significantly more likely than not. He's also allowed battle magic, so if you're lucky, you could roll that 5 at ward save and have a unit of Ogre Bulls with regen 5, ward of 5. That's now a very, very tanky unit. Yeah. So, but other than that, you know, nothing particularly special other than just a great level 4 wizard. You've got your Ogre Hunters, which are the characters with a crossbow, and they're normally running around with a pet saber tusk. They have a rule for that, so if hunters join saber tusks, the saber tusks are no longer impetuous, they're a bit more under control, and also they gain swift stride. So if you're going to be running saber tusks, you're going to want a hunter, because both of those are a significant upgrade to your saber tusks for 115 points. And to be fair, it's probably worth 115 points for that stat line. So, you know, if you it's pretty much an auto include if you're using saber tusks. It's got a harpoon launcher, which is pretty cool, but we'll get to that in a bit. Fire bellies are like fiery ogre wizard things. I really don't understand where they came from. Like, it just looks like somebody sculpted it, and then GW have gone, oh, that's cool, we need to find some rules for it now. So that's... But it's got a 4 at ward against flaming attacks. It's got a breath weapon that it can just use. Like, it's not even a spell. I mean, that's pretty cool, because it's just basically a fire breather, and it's a level 1 wizard and can cast like fire spells and battle spells, which is like fireballs and stuff. So they're quite cool. And again, it's level 2 wizard, 145 points for that stat line with a level 2 wizard, 4 wounds, toughness 5. You know, that's pretty good. You got the Stonehorn's a bit disappointing. I've tried like some like little character duels between like a ogre tyrant on Stonehorn versus like a Chaos Lord, and the Chaos Lord tends to win, despite the fact that the Stonehorn guy is a bit more, you know, a bit more, has more wounds and has, so yeah, I mean, it's got full plate armor. So the one thing about the Stonehorn that's quite cool is because it's got full plate armor, basically what you do is you look at the rider's armor ability and you look at the mount's armor ability, and whichever's best is the one that the model has. So this also means you don't have to upgrade the armor at all. So if you're going to put your tyrant on it, don't give it heavy armor, because it's a waste of, 6-8 points or something like that, because your 4 up from the Stonehorn is already better. So yeah, it does a lot of impact hits. Stone Skeleton's I'd have liked Stone Skeleton to be like immune to Monster Slayer or something like that. It seems a bit kind of weak, really, considering it's an additional 200 points and it just gives him more wounds. Now, I say just gives him more wounds and toughness, but he's already got lots of wounds and toughness, so like it's not that much of a step up, if that makes sense. So like if your character is like really weak, giving them loads of extra toughness and loads of extra wounds is well worth the ability. So putting like a goblin shaman on top of a massive spider, that's a huge upgrade, because the goblin shaman is pointed to be weak and easily dispatched, whereas you make him very difficult to kill now for actually not a lot of points. That's a massively good upgrade. If you've got something that's massive and tough and already fairly quick, I mean, it only has +1 to his move, already fairly quick, to being fairly quick, tough, and has a bit more wounds but already has quite a lot, it's not really worth that much points for all this other stuff. It doesn't have Stomp either, which I just find a bit weird. I'm not gonna lie, it just feels a bit weird. It's a behemoth. So thunderous charge means the impact hits are always AP2, even against other monsters, which is okay, but like it just doesn't feel like it's worth that many points. I may be wrong. I've not played any games with it yet, so could be wrong. You've got a Thunder Tusk, which is the same toughness and wound upgrade. Yes, it doesn't have Stone Skeleton, but it does have Numbing Chill, which reduces initiative and weapon skill, which actually against like large units that could be pretty clutch, because your Thunder Tusk goes up to if it gets a charge off, which it might do against smaller blocks of infantry because it's a bit quicker than most infantry, then that would go up to like initiative 5, as would I think the Tyrant was the Tyrant at 3? No, the Tyrant's initiative 5 actually, so on a charge he goes up to initiative 8. So at -1 initiative to the opponent, I mean, that's Thunder Tusk is sort of looking a bit better than the Stonehorn, considering it's 30 points cheaper too, and it's got a breath weapon. And in combat, it's got these great tusks. 4 attacks are the same, weapon skills are the same, strength is the same, upgrades are the same, and its great tusks are AP1 with armor bane 2. So like, is just AP2 way better than that? Well, no, not really. I'd argue it's only marginally better. So that's a bit of a weird one. It feels like Stone Skeleton was supposed to be much better. But anyway, well, I suppose the other difference is that this has a 4-up save and this has a 5-up save. But then again, if you've got a Tyrant on this thing, you can always put heavy armor and a heavy armor. Where is it? Heavy armor costs 3 points and an Iron Fist. So yeah, you can make him a 4-up save anyway for 9 points. So it's 30 points cheaper, and you can get the same armor save for another 9 points. So it's sort of 21 points cheaper. Anyway, this is your core. Everybody's got to have 1 unit of these. They're 3+ because it's monstrous infantry. They're Ogre Bulls. They've got a decent amount of wounds. They've got almost no armor. Iron Fists give them +1 attack and an extra save. Additional hand weapons just give them +1 attack. I don't know why you wouldn't take Iron Fists. Annoyingly, because extra hand weapons are better in AOS, or mine are modelled with extra weapons. So that's great. Thanks, GW. But whatever. The command is again quite cheap, really. And you can, you're gonna do the Lookout Noblar realistically. And 0 to 1 unit per 1,000 may take a magic standard. I've worked it out actually, because I got 12 of these in 2 units of 6. So I've worked out actually, if I take the 2 units of 6 and give them both a magic standard, then I've just about got over the 25% allocation in the army. So that's quite interesting. Iron Guts are exactly what you'd expect. They're a bit like Ogre Bulls. They're not much better than them. The difference is that Iron Guts have heavy armor, so they're a bit better defended, and they all have great weapons and hand weapons, so you can choose, but they have great weapons. Which great weapons are initiative 2. That's a solid choice, because initiative 2, going down to 1, it's not that bad, considering that gives you +2 strength and AP2. Great weapons are pretty nasty. You can also give them the veteran special rule, which, whilst I'm talking about it, obviously I've forgotten what that actually does. That's forming units, that's turn sequence. I thought special rules are here. So veteran special rule: if the majority of the models in this unit have this special rule, the unit may re-roll any failed leadership test with a note underneath that a break test is not a leadership test. Sorry about that. Great content watching me wander off, but you got to see the velour denim combo. Lead belchers are next in the list. These have lead belcher guns. The rules there. It's got good range, good strength, good AP. They are cumbersome though. They do multiple wounds, which is quite nasty for a solid shot. They basically carry around cannons and shoot them at the enemy. So they're not massive cannons, but you know they're armor bane 1, so they can do a decent amount of damage. The issue is they're ballistic skill 3. So I mean, I think they're pretty good. Cumbersome means you can't stand and shoot with them, doesn't it? I think. I'll just check quickly because cannot be used when so you can't stand and shoot with them. But other than that, they're pretty good. Well, you can't stand and shoot with a solid shot. You can with a scatter shot, and the scatter shot essentially does D3 hits per hit. So if you've got 3 of them, you roll to hit with the scatter shot, a charging enemy. Which, if you're within 9, you're going to be hitting on 5s, and if they're over 9 away, you're going to be hitting on 6s. The dog's going nuts at the door for some reason. Bloody dog. Right, Noblar trappers. These are like Noblar scouty things that leave traps lying around. They do have a cool special rule called traps and snares that says any enemy model that ends its charge move in base contact. So if you charge into the Noblars, you've got to take dangerous terrain tests. So it's any enemy model. So you could charge 5 knights into the Noblar trappers and lose a couple of knights just on the charge because they like leave incendiary devices and calthrops and stuff like that. And they're dirt cheap for that. So in terms of like a screen to stop the Bretonnian knights charging you, these are amazing. As long as they don't get shot off. Is there actually any limit on them? Are they... Because they could just be absolutely horrible. Because dangerous terrain is just... My God, they're core and they're unlimited. Well, that's... that's a... I'm not sure about that, because... Oh God! Because if you took, you you could take 100 of them, and it's a 500-point screen, and people charging into it have to take dangerous terrain tests. Oh, that sounds horrible. I don't like them. I mean, I love them, but I don't like that. That's... Ugh. And you got man-eaters are cool. That's the ninja one and the pirate one and all that. Those models, I love the models. They've got motley crew. What that means is that they can all take different weapons. So you can have one with a brace of pistols. You can have one with a great weapon, which is like a katana. The other really cool thing is a unit may have 0 to 2, so you can make them immune to psychology with poisoned attacks, or stubborn and vanguard, or vanguard and poison attacks, or you basically get to pick 2 of these special rules for free. So that makes them like super flexible, considering they're special choices and not rare. They're absolutely fantastic. Can you give them heavy? Yeah, I mean you can give them all heavy armor as well. Why wouldn't you do that? Yeah. Do you know what? They'd make a really good... What is that dog doing? It's snorting at the door. It's like the dog seems to think there's like cocaine under the door. I mean, I've never tried cocaine, to be honest, but I don't know why I said that. You got some Noblar 2 points each. Oh my God! You couldn't take 1,000 of them, but you could take a lot in a... I mean, they would just all panic each other off because they've got Horde, but they haven't got Warband, which is good. So Horde means you get an extra rank. Or have I got that the wrong way round? Actually, is it Warband that's leadership and Horde that's rank bonus? Horde is an extra rank bonus, so they're allowed a rank bonus of up to 3. And they're close order as well. What are Noblar trappers? They should be skirmishers, really. Regular infantry. Skirmishers, yeah. And scouts, which means you can deploy them in no man's land. I think you have to deploy them in no man's land further than 12 inches away from an enemy model, basically. Then you got the Yetis, which are a rare choice, which is a bit weird because I don't think they're amazing. You can give them Scouts and Vanguard. Well, you give them one or the other because arguably Scouts is better than Vanguard because you can just put them in no man's land. You don't have to move. But then again, having the ability to move after deployment means that you can put them down as your first deployment choice, but then if you don't like where they are, you can then redeploy them a little bit. I mean, 7 inches, but 7 inches. Presumably they're skirmishers. No, they're not. They're loners. Open order. Open order's pretty useful. Then you got the saber tusks. These are slightly swift stride. What did? Oh, okay. Sorry. The hunter gains swift stride. I thought the unit gained swift stride. Slightly misread that. See, it's so easy to misread stuff. So these guys have got Armor Bane 1. They're pretty expensive, but pretty good kind of screen, especially if you've got lots of Mournfang Cav. Speaking of which, these are awesome. Like, movement 8 is pretty quick for something this durable. They do have swift stride, so they get pretty. So they got a 17-inch maximum charge range, because the maximum charge is 6 normally, and you get to add 3 to your maximum charge range per swift stride. Okay, not another 0.6, not another 0.6. 6. You can move 6.6 inches. That's a bit. Yeah, swift stride. Here we go. Increases its maximum possible charge range by 3 inches, and when it makes a charge flee or pursuit roll, may apply a plus d6 modifier to the result. So you get to add d6 to your charge, but your maximum charge goes from 6 to 9. So units with swift stride statistically are pretty likely to be charging like 7, 8, 9. Because the possibility of rolling over that just converts to a 9. So I think actually 9 is statistically the most likely result. Maybe it's not. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Don't need to do Math Hammer whilst I'm talking about Ogres, because Ogres is not interested in maths. Aside from how much calories I can consume in one day. So Ogre Ogred Hide. Armoured Hide is quite cool because you've got light armour. You can upgrade them to having heavy armour. You can give them Iron Fists as well. Yeah. So you got Iron Fists, heavy armour, Armoured Hide, which is barding. You've just got a 3-up save on a thing with 4 wounds that's movement 8. So movement 8, by the way, is faster than Chaos Knights. Chaos Knights only go 7. So these are pretty quick buggers. And they do D3 impact hits each. And it's a Mournfang charge, remember? So that gives them... Was it AP1 and Armor Bane? Was it AP1 and Armor Bane? I can't remember off the top of my head. AP1... Yeah, AP1 and Armor Bane. Yep. So like that's pretty nasty. So Mournfang Cav are amazing. I've been building out some lists actually, and 4 of these in a unit, which is probably your optimum unit size, I think. Is like about 280, 300 points, something like that. So they're well worth having. You can give the Crusher a brace of Ogre Pistols if you really want. I mean, Ogre Pistols are basically like just 2 handguns. They're okay, but like, is it really worth 12 points for a model that can't shoot to have a few pot shots? I mean, funny, but like, I wouldn't have made it that expensive considering like he misses like most of the time. It just seems like, for instance, at long range, so they got a 24-inch range, so like at long range he's going to be hitting on 6s. So like, is it worth 12 points for like 1 hit in the whole game at strength 4? Like, really? Personally, I'd have just given him for free because it's just funny. So you've got an Iron Blaster, which is like a kind of rhino sort of thing with a massive cannon on the back of it. which shoots as you'd expect. It's a huge cannon. It's like a super great cannon. Yeah, it can fire whole clutches of cannonballs at once. So it's got a 36-inch range. Not a massive range, but it is strength 10, AP3. It shoots like a cannon. It is a cannon. It has the Iron Blaster misfire table, which is worse than the normal black powder table, because the black powder table is this kind. The model, cannot shoot this turn or this turn or the next, isn't it? And then 1 is destroyed, 2 to 3 is you can't shoot this turn or the next, and 4 to 6 is can't shoot this turn and a model dies or something. I can't remember off the top of my head, but something like that. So misfires are worse, markedly worse. So for this particular thing. So considering a cannon is normally about 100 points, you add 85 to give it a ton of extra toughness, put it on a chariot with something that can do impact hits. So when it misfires, I suppose you can always revert to doing damage in combat. I'm not sure it would do much in combat, to be honest. But, I mean, it's not even terrifying. I mean, looking at the model, it is goddamn terrifying, but, it only causes fear, apparently. So, I don't know, not really sure about that. You got the Noblar scrap launcher, which is, a mortar. Slightly strong mortar, so strength 3. However, with no AP. I think like a normal mortar is strength 2, AP 2 or 3 or something like that. It has the scrap launcher misfire table, which is the same as this one. So anyway, does impact hits, only causes fear. It's a heavy chariot, so impact hits are AP2. It's okay, but again, I can't see it doing much in combat. Is it really worth 100? Is it really worth an extra 50-60 points over like a normal mortar? I'm not sure. You've then got Stonehorn Riders, which are as you can see. Oh no, not as you can see. I pressed the wrong button. Why is it doing that? I was trying to not use the mouse wheel. Right, so then you got some Stonehorn Riders. Again, these have got a 4-up save because Stonehorns have a 4-up save. It's got loads of cool stuff. You can have a Blood Vulture only on Stonehorn Riders. That's not. I didn't spot that was an option for a mount. Character mount Stonehorn. Yeah, you can't take one. You've got to have. Stonehorn Riders can have a Blood Vulture. I love the Blood Vulture. I love the model. I think it's so cool. But no. And they can have a chain trap and, all this sort of cool stuff. Again, why you take range things on ogres? Like the ballistic skill is trash. So, I don't know. Harpoon launcher, there's an argument for that. And we'll talk about that in a sec. I've just seen that rule Howder, and I don't think I've read the rule Howder before. I've seen it on things. I don't think I've actually read the rule yet. That's a bit silly, isn't it? Howder. Oh, it's a behemoth that's a chariot and a firing platform. See page 194. So, why does that... So it's a chariot with a split profile, yeah, and a firing platform, which means it can shoot in 360 degrees. But that's... whatever. So it's a chariot. So actually... Oh, is that true for the Stonehorn? Have I just missed something really obvious? No, it doesn't have Howder. So this Stonehorn, because it doesn't have Howder, you can kill it with Monster Slayer, right? This Stonehorn Where the bloody hell's it gone? This stone horn, right? You can't because it's got Howder, so it's technically a chariot for rules purposes. Okay. Thunder Tusk, Howder again. Anyway, I think that needs to be an FAQ on that, really. I mean, Thunder Tusk is, it's pretty much the same as just a Thunder Tusk option of the Stonehorn. So all the guys on the top have all the same options riding the thing. You've got a giant. You've seen giants before. They're in like the Orc and Goblin book. Giants are cool. Like, instead of attacking normally or making a pickup and whatever attack, you can make a giant attack, and then you roll on a d6, and then it might do any of these. But it's just as random weird stuff. It can put victims down its trousers or eat them or whatever. Yeah. The other thing to mention is it doesn't attack normally, so it always does a random thing. You can pick up and stuff something down your trousers instead of making a giant attack, so you can choose to do this. But essentially, the unit it's in combat with must take an initiative test if it's regular or heavy infantry, and if it fails the initiative test, then the giant kind of stuffs it down its trousers or puts it up its arse or eats it or whatever. And then on a 4 up, you do it again. And then a 4 up, you do it again. Or on a 1 to 3, the giant forgets that it's eating an enemy and just kind of stands there and scratches its bum. So giants are wicked again. Gorgers, again, I mean, they've got Frenzy, Swift Stride, they're Unbreakable, they got Regen. I mean, Unbreakable's nice on a 4 wound model, but it's only got light wounds. It's got Ravenous Hunger, which means reroll charges, basically. I mean, its claws are pretty good. It's got to sacrifice 1 attack for this sort of weird killing blow attack. So essentially it's got 3 attacks with Wicked Claws and 1 attack with Distensible Jaw. And if it's frenzied, it's got 4 attacks with the Wicked Claws, basically is how that works. So it's got Regen 6, which could be quite good. The unit size is 1 though, so you don't take units of them. They're just on their own, wandering around. They don't have Loner though, which is quite interesting. So, but they're unbreakable anyway. So, what would they? Yeah, I don't know what they'd be affected by really. So Gorgers, I mean, if you like the models and you like the concept of just random frenzied ogres ripping across the battlefield, then get them. But now, big names. Big names are something that the characters can take. They're a bit like sort of demonic abilities or vows of Bretonia, or they're just additional, like, you might as well call them magic artifacts that don't fit into a normal category, really. A lot of them are infantry only, so a lot of them are for, like, your classic tyrant on foot. I've got one of those, haven't I? Yeah, I forgot about him. So you got +1 toughness, makes it harder to wound him. Cannot be wounded by a roll to wound of a 2. And he's got a toughness 5 anyway, so like that means strength 8 things are less likely to wound him. Well, I can't think of any strength 8 things apart from a bloodthirster with a great axe at the moment, or like a Skaven. Like, really, is that worth 25 points? It's worth like 5, because getting up to strength 8, I mean, there's hardly anything with it. Giant Breaker. +1 strength, can't refuse a challenge, can't flee as a charge reaction. I mean, sometimes you might want to. I mean, I'll probably give Giant Breaker to this dude because, why not? It's an upgrade. I can afford it. Kin Eater is for the Army Army Genry. Friendly models within its command range may reroll failed panic or rally tests. Again, if you put your general on a behemoth, then the command range is extended to 18 inches. So this guy has an 18-inch command range on quite a big base. So it's worth bearing in mind. Long Strider, I think each big name. It doesn't. I'm not sure it says anywhere how many you're allowed to take. Are you allowed to take? May take a single big name. Okay, but you can take. It doesn't seem to say you can't take multiple. Like you could have all your characters with Kin Eater. Well, no, you couldn't because it's general only. You could have all your characters with Giant Breaker. I suppose. Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, they're not amazing. They're not sort of game breaking. They're not going to change how you play the game, really. They just make you slightly better. Which, to be honest, they should all probably be about 10 or 11 points. But, you know, whatever. Then you got magic weapons. You got Thunder Mace, which is a really old ogre magic weapon. It's fantastic. I love it. You can, rather than make it attacking normally, you make a single roll to hit. And then if you do hit, it's like you've been hit by a stone thrower because it's so heavy and smashy. That's fantastic. However, the thing is, if this is successful, place the blast template. So any animal model whose base lies underneath the template risks being hit by this weapon. So if this is in a unit, right, you could possibly hit, like, you know, if you got lucky, like 7, 8, maybe 9 models that you'd be hitting, and probably like strength 8, AP 2, armor bane 1. I mean, that could be so nasty, absolutely horrendous. You know, you could pretty much take out a unit of Swordmasters if you got lucky and didn't die to them first. The other magic weapons are pretty cool. I really like the Blood Cleaver. Note emissaries, so that's like butchers and Slaughtermasters only. But if they cause wounds in the combat phase, they get to heal, which is pretty useful because some of their things might cause them damage. So where is it? Arcane items. Yeah, here you go. So you might need it if you're going to take Hellheart, because that causes you to lose a wound. But enemy wizards miscast on any double rather than a double one. And what that means is that miscast chances rise from a 1 in 36 to a 1 in 6. So that's a significant... So if you're up against like a Tzeentch demon army where they've got like 40 spells they're going to cast, that's well worth taking. More importantly though, Grut's Sickle. So you add... bugger off. So you always add... Well, you may add D3 to your casting rolls. However, a single friendly model loses a single win. So... You know, you could use that to cast off like an assailment that you really need to get off, or like a self-buffy sort of spell that you really need to get off. And then if you do some damage in combat, which you might do because you're a pretty fighty character, then you get that wound back. So there's a decent little combo there. You've got a full plate armor suit with a 6-up ward. That's good for a tyrant on foot. This one's pretty wicked. Got more as a suit of... For each unsaved wound the wearer causes, they recover a single lost wound. I'm not sure how that applies to overkill, because it depends how... I'm presuming the wounds are lost is what it says. Jesus. Okay, so this is another one that kind of needs a bit of an FAQ. Because, so the overkill rule says, if a character fighting in a challenge kills their opponent and causes more unsaved wounds than their opponent has wounds remaining, then for each excess wound you may claim a bonus of... Does it say anything about excess wounds being lost? So however many wounds you cause, they're all unsaved wounds. It says for each unsaved, so you could overkill like a champion and do like 7 or 8 wounds and then recover 7 or 8 wounds, hypothetically. I don't think that's what they mean. I think you heal 1 if you cause, you know, or you cause as many I think what they mean by unsaved wounds is like unsaved wounds that actually take wounds off your opponent. So if your opponent's got 3 wounds and you cause 3 unsaved wounds, then you recover 3 wounds, I think is what that's trying to say. But rules as written, it's not amazingly clear. Where's the banner? There was a banner that I thought was pretty good. Maybe that was in Dark Elves. Yeah, Cannibal Totem's pretty good. 5 up regen for 30 points. On a unit of bulls, that makes them significantly more survivable. Bull standard, re-rolling failed rolls to wound with impact hits. Again, those two are pretty good. I'd put them in, most lists. The more expensive ones are a bit situational, really. Re-rolling hit rolls of natural 1 is pretty good. And giving you flaming is pretty good, but it doesn't give you magical attacks, which actually magical is way better than flaming in the vast majority of circumstances. So, if you know you're up against undead and you're building an army to trick out undead, then, definitely take Dragonhide banner. But, if you're going to a tournament or you're fighting, a random opponent on, like a game night or whatever, Dragonhide banner, probably not. This is pretty good, actually. Rerolling fear, panic, rally, or terror tests. Like if you've got a character in a unit that's going to go off on a flank, that's pretty good for them. Demons, again, this is really good for a tyrant on foot because it upgrades his fear to terror. Halfling Cookbook is amazing for 30 points. Fantastic. Grut Sickle is amazing for 40 points. Fantastic. Hellheart is kind of situational, but again, if you know you're up against Tzeentch, I've already talked about that. So we've got 2 custom spells, and then we've got weapons to have a look at. The custom spells are a bit kind of... So +1 or +2 toughness, it's an enchantment until the end of the turn. Now, if you've got... It doesn't say it can be cast into combat, though, so, I'm not sure that that's massively useful. Troll Guts, because you're going to be casting that on a unit that you're about to throw into combat. So if you're going to throw a unit into combat, you need to do... maybe you're tar pitting up a unit, proactively. So it's got... +2 toughness is great, as a general thing. Absolutely fantastic. But it's only until the end of the turn. So, I'm not... That's very situational. Troll Guts can give you regen 5. That's fantastic because it lasts until your next start of turn phase. It's not remains in play. So that just... You cast that with your level 4 Slaughtermaster with his +D3 from Grut Sickle. That's... on an 11 plus, give another unit considering you've got a banner that's already given you regen 5, haven't you? Was it the banner that gave was it regen 5? Where the hell's it gone? Yeah, regen 5. So essentially you can get quite a lot of your army on regen 5 through a whole variety of so I think ogres are going to be a lot more survivable than their armor lets you think. Harpoon launcher is a weapon option for quite a lot of stuff. It's strength 6, AP 2, multiple wounds D3, ponderous. Ponderous means you can't move and shoot with it, or it's an extra -1 to hit when you move and shoot, something like that. Ponderous. -2 to move and shoot rather than -1. So, but if you've put it on a Howder, it gains the firing platform rule. Does that get rid of that? I can't remember. Comment down below. Iron Fists. Yep, these are essentially an extra attacks and shield. It's not a shield, but you can't use it alongside a magic weapon. However, you could use it alongside a magic shield to take... Oh, no. You could, couldn't you? You could use it alongside a magic weapon. You could use it alongside a magic shield from the generic shield stuff. So you could take heavy armor, giving you 5 up. You go Iron Fist to 4, and then you can go for a shield that gets you to 3. And isn't there an enchanted item, like a something hat or whatever, that gives you an extra +1 to your save. Was it a something hat, or was that? I think that was in the high elf list, wasn't it? High elves have got like a hat of +1 save, just because high elves don't have enough cool special rules, do they? Yeah, you can take bedazzling helm, but you know that's a magic armor, so you can't take that with a shield. I mean, but you could take an enchanted shield and give yourself a 6 at ward and +1 to your save. So yeah. Then you got the ogre pistol. Like I said, a bit rubbish considering most of the things that can wield it are like ballistic skill 2, so it's not really going to hit it. I mean, I don't really see the point. And you got a brace of ogre pistols, which is multiple shots. So if you're ballistic skill 2, like shooting at long range, you're going to be like you need like 6s or 7s to hit most of the time. Like, what's the point? You know, considering this costs 12 points. Like, I know it's not much in the grand scheme of things for ogres, but like, you know, you could do a bit better with that 12 points. But anyway, those are just my thoughts on the Ogre Kingdoms new book. It looks pretty cool. I can wait to rebase this because that sort of snow stuff is pretty like solid. So it's like resin. So Christ knows how I'm going to get that thing off its base. But I'm sure I might have to put it through a bandsaw. Anyway, I'll find a way. Thanks for listening. Comment, like, all that kind of stuff if you want. I mean, you know, I'm doing this mainly for my own sanity anyway. So hope to catch you around soon. Toodle pip.